Did you write your own mask exemption or get it somewhere else?
In the context of not wanting a provider to get in trouble.
I'm not going to ask the name of the provider. Was it you or an outside provider?
Outside provider.
And you wrote masks for your children. Are you their provider?
Yes.
And you talked about vitamin D labs on 2,000 patients, including kids. Is getting lab work on all your patients a regular part of your practice? Lab work on kids, like how often do you do that?
In general, no. In an otherwise neurotypical child, no. My practice it became a far more specialized practice where I would get lab work and I would add vitamin D because I was getting, zinc and copper and, other labs. And since we should know that, I was seeing children on the spectrum with vitamin D levels of 6 and 9 and 11. That's so devastating to the foundation of the body that to not have those labs would do a disservice to my ability to help them. So I could have excluded it, but then I would have had to apologize for why I chose not to thoroughly do a workup. And they'd already been failed by everybody else. So I was like, I'm not going to fail them.
Understand. And I'm sorry to skip around, but that's kind of how
It's okay.
How did you find Dr. Schwelt? I think it was Schwelt, and I think you said he was a dentist. That's what you really mean?
No. He's a quadruple board certified physician.
So how did you find him?
Google.
And I'm sorry, to go back to vaccine exemptions, can you tell us how many vaccine exemptions you wrote?
For what?
Mask exemptions for children or adults to not have to wear a mask during COVID-19 to go into a space that required a mask.
Just for clarification, do you mean like a restaurant?
Yeah, I mean an exemption. I don't know what the person needs the exemption for.
No, my curiosity was like if they needed it to stand in line or to sit down and not wear it.
You seem to be the expert about mask exemptions. Maybe you can tell us about what you wrote and what they were for and what the distinctions are during the pandemic.
And I can't tell you exactly, but I had so many children that they couldn't get their hair cut. Moms had to figure out what kind of socks to get because if they had a line in them, they would lose their mind. The jeans, the jeggings, the way the clothes fit, the food, the sensitivity. So I had a shocking number of kids that if you try, you can put it on and then spend every second of your day putting it back on, and dying on that hill all day. So yes, there were families that I said the risk benefit of because it's switch, right? It used to be that a child that was 49 months, 49 months, 29, 30 days didn't need a mask, but the next day on their birthday, they needed a mask. And I was thinking, I don't understand that. The day before they didn't need it, Klaus, the day before they didn't need it, but today, happy birthday, here's your mask. And I was like, and I desperately sought the science of why the next day they needed it. And then they moved it to 2 years old. And I'm thinking, yes, 2-year-olds are very compliant. They're very CDC and WHO compliant with the mask. I think that's fantastic to have them do it as they're like putting their hand in their diaper and then touching their mask. And so when they're 11 months, 30 days, they didn't, or 23 months and 29 days, they didn't need it. And all of a sudden they turned 2 and I was like, oh. So I was looking at the science of how they determined that. And I couldn't find it. It was nowhere. There was the mandate, but there wasn't the science behind it. And so when a mom would ask, why does my child have to wear a mask tomorrow but not today? I was like, I don't know. So I have to give informed consent. I have to give scientific reason for why I say things to people. I'm sorry, I apologize. It's like I can't just say things because somebody told me to say it. They're not going to trust me if I'm just going to blindly say something one day and then the next day switch it because they're a day older.
By September of the time period of July to September of 2021, which is really the time period that we've talked about in terms of the patients A group. In addition to studying the FLCCA protocols, and you said you did study those and that you admired Dr. Corey and Dr. Merrick. By then, had you read the available peer-reviewed literature regarding ivermectin?
If we just simply took ivermectin off the map, just literally there was no such thing as ivermectin, I'd be grateful. I mean, apart from its benefits in post-COVID, if you wiped ivermectin out of the entirety of it, hospitals did not have it on their formulary. The thing that I was worried about is if I had a severely ill patient and they said, I don't tolerate steroids, and I think, holy cow, I don't know how many nights I went to bed thinking just, okay, Lord, get them through tonight as their immune system change goes in and they're going to go into that inflammatory phase and they're going to call 911 at 3 or 4 a.m. It wasn't the ivermectin that mitigated that, right? I mean, sure, it's helping like block the ACE2 receptor in the lungs. Yay, that's awesome. But if they're day 8, 9, 10 and viral replication is over and they're into the inflammatory phase, it's going to have benefit, but without the anti-inflammatories and antihistamines as they go into mast cell activation, I'm not reliant on ivermectin. I didn't ask patient E. So patient E, right, and we were given, I can't say his name, but the son.
Slow down, please.
Okay. He said, is it worth giving ivermectin, like pushing forward with it? And I said, no. Not if they're not going to do other things. Ivermectin will not save your dad's life. If they don't do these other things, right? Like I didn't, the people that I was able to collaborate with, the providers that I was able to collaborate with that made a myriad of changes, like added montelukast and IV thiamine and cyproheptadine and nebulized budesonide and nebulized acetylcysteine, right? If I was calling and saying, give him ivermectin and everything's going to be fine, I'd be embarrassed. And I mean, I wouldn't even, like, we wouldn't be having this discussion because you would be able to just tear me to shreds on the science.
So my question was about the peer-reviewed studies, but can you tell the panel the number of vaccine exemptions you wrote?
For For who?
Anyone.
In what time frame?
Exemptions from the COVID-19 vaccine during the time period starting when the vaccine was available.
Yeah, I don't need to object to this line of questioning. This is not the subject of, I believe.
Can I answer it?
No.
Hang on.
Any of the statement of charges. And it's opening up a whole new